name's Emma Payne, and I'm a potter based in London. I've travelled around a few different places learning about ceramics and pottery. I've done a residency in Jingdeshen in China, and I've done a residency in Gulegot in Denmark, and I studied my master's in Copenhagen. So I feel like you learn a lot when you travel and learn about ceramics. I'm come to Kyoto in Japan to learn about different ceramic techniques. There was a great connection between Japanese ceramic artists at sort of 100 years ago at the turn of the century with Bernard Leach, Hans Cooper and Lucy Ree linking up with Japanese potters and bringing kind of their techniques over as we were having an industrial revolution. So first on our Japanese tour of ceramics is Kawai Kanjuro's house. It's been turned into a museum, but the museum is essentially exactly how it was in 1937. Even now there's a friendly cat kind of guarding the museum. So it feels very much like a home still. Kawai Kanjuro was born in 1890. It's kind of famous for the style of menge pottery, which is kind of honouring folk art, looking at honouring items that we use with our hands and bringing kind of a sense of artwork through our everyday objects. Kawai Kanjuro knew when he was 16 that he wanted to be a potter. He was watching a nearby farmer who made pottery in his spare time, and this had like a great influence on him as a child. He wanted to work with his hands and be creative. The simplicity of the handmade, the unpretentiousness of what you can craft from the soil using ceramics. He was designated a national living treasure. So within Japan, there's 116 living treasures across all different forms of craft. And Kawai Kanjuro was one of these later on in his life. This is so cool. So I just imagine living here. It's so beautiful. And then you've got two types of kiln. So this kiln I was just reading and trying to understand a little bit in the Japanese, but this is the first firing kiln, so the bisque kiln. So I bisque at 900 degrees in an electric kiln, but this is a wood-fired kiln. And from what I can understand is you feed the kiln underneath with the wood, goes up the chimney, and at the back of the kiln is where all the work goes. Very similar to us, like the props and the shelves, but it only fires to 600, 700 degrees. So you could also use this for a luster firing or lower temperature glaze firing. But I think it says it's mainly a bisque kiln, like a first firing kiln. So it wouldn't be too hot here. If you were living around the kiln, it'd be nice in winter. As we come out into this outside, more warehouse space, kind of open to the air, the incline gets steeper, and on the hills is this giant Noborigama kiln. The Noborigama has different chambers to it, so it's still wood-fired, but each chamber kind of has a different personality and a different look and feel to it because the temperature changes as it climbs the hill. So this is the second kiln. So after the pieces have been bisqued, they get glazed, and then they come into this kiln. This is a communal kiln. It would have been used by 20 other local potters. Kanjuro inherited it from his family, and he liked to use the second room. When you get gas-fired or wood-fired kilns, you get sweet spots. They react differently. And I'm guessing that he got to know the second room, the temperature that happened in the second room, where to place things within that, so that he could kind of regulate how his glazes would come out in different areas. Whereas if you used different rooms on the different heights, they would come out at different colours. So it's wood-fired. They would fire over 2 days and 2 nights, putting 200 bundles of wood in. They would have stacked wood up at the side, drying. So it's quite labour-intensive. You have to stoke the fire constantly. It's usually a team of people that fire the kiln, so that you can sleep while it's getting up to temperature. This would have gone up to about 1350 degrees. So in an electric kiln, I fire to like 1260, so it goes even higher than that. And you hold it at the top temperature, so it will remain at 1350 for a while, so that the heat goes the whole way up the kiln, throughout the different rooms. And they would have stacked the rooms full using saggers. They're a bit like clay pots where you'd put the work in and then put those on shelves as well. There's some beautiful like kind of glazed bricks. So as you walk up the side of the kiln, you can see like shiny parts, which is really nice, where the kiln is made from fired clay in a separate kiln. So it's like one kiln feeding to make another kiln. You can see as well down here are like vents that the heat would have come through these vents, and the shelves in there where you would have stacked the work. So it would have been really, really full of work. The more full a kiln is, kind of the easier to heat it, because the work holds the heat, rather than it being empty and you're just heating empty space. As the work gets hot, it acts a bit like a self-radiator in keeping itself hot. And then we move through a door into a display area with glaze samples, examples of Kanjaro's work, and how he would have sat and produced work. So there's 2 kick wheels here, and also a selection of different works of his, and that kind of repeated message of the art of the hand. This is such a beautiful space. I can't imagine making work in here. Like, I am a very messy worker. I'm always in dirty overalls and kind of covered in spatters of porcelain. It reminds me of like the photographs you see of Bernard Leach, where he's like throwing in a 3-piece tweed suit. I can just imagine Kanjaro sitting here at his kick wheel, and the 4 characters at the back, I've been told, is a bit of a motto. Think with your hands, feel with your feet. Creating a piece is a very physical process, intertwined with like your mind as well. As we walk around, there's just kind of an atmosphere of relaxed contentment, as people are just kind of enjoying the atmosphere around the building. The tatami mats giving off like a kind of rich, earthy smell. The windows are open to this kind of wild little courtyard of greenery in the middle. It certainly doesn't feel like a museum. It's not a white box. It's wooden and creaky and old and a heavy scent of tobacco. And again, the cat in the living space. This is very much a living museum, and it feels like it would have felt when Kanjaro was working here. Almost absorbing the craft and the culture and the creativity that has happened in this building. Visiting Kanjaro's house has really cured my jet lag. I'm quite interested to see how this history has been carried forward, and made me super excited to explore more potters around the Kyoto area.